video okay. Okay, so what did we do yesterday?
Visualization.
So we did visualizations. Okay. So I think for today we can have some few discussions before we go to. So, but how are you finding it so far? Interesting, right? It shouldn't be just interesting, also challenging and enriching as well. Right. So I understood. Hey, I have 49 slides here, and the next one I think it is a number, but we'll just rush through because we did this, but we want to see in practice. What does theory say? The good thing is you started with what? With practical. So we now have an appreciation. So we'll be just running off. Creating reports in Power BI. We did this yesterday after we did modeling. So we said modeling is an important part. You can testify, say. Yeah. Yeah. So modeling is important. Sorry. Someone is in the call and wants to join. Okay. Welcome, Anifa. I'm good. So we are doing a bit of theory today before we start to continue with our practicals. Right. So I was explaining to say we did this yesterday. So we are building up from the start where we said we create databases. After creating database, we go to ETL, we clean our data, we build our models. Now we want to create reports. After creating reports, after we are now satisfied, we deploy to the Power BI service where we will now create dashboards. Can also create apps where we bundle our reports among other things that you can do, right? So the agenda is to work with the visuals, report layout and interactions, navigating and filtering report design elements. We did this. So so in this section, we are going to add visuals to the report, choose effective visuals. I think if you can recall, when we were doing Excel, we discussed the rules or the fundamentals on how to choose a visual, right? Format and configure visuals. So we are now familiar with this, right? Where it's what our visuals, right? So we are saying Power BI is a variety of them that you can use to report your data. So visuals allow you to represent information in a clear and concise manner that even someone who is not data literate can understand. We learn charts in in primary school. So everyone is familiar with charts. So if you just present your information in charts, even someone from a totally different field can understand, right? Yeah. So for working with visuals, there are considerations that you should do, right? The chart type. So you might want to consider using a combination of visuals on your report, such as cards, charts, tables, slicers, etc. We did the cards here, we did a slicer, and we did some staked bar charts yesterday. So what we say the type, the second is the number. How many visuals do you want to include in your report? right? So it's best to limit the number of visuals. We say the 80-20 rule or the 70-30 rule. So you need to limit the number. It shouldn't be cluttered. And as I was complaining yesterday to say, these colors, they are not communicating to each other. Yeah. We may be building a Christmas tree or something like that. So, yeah, that's position as well. As you add visualizations, move those visuals to specific locations on the page and make them bigger or smaller for more effective display. For example, cards, they don't need necessarily to be that big. Was the cards mostly they display only maybe a single number with a title or a description, so they don't need necessarily to be big. But for other charts like bar graphs, line charts, they need to be big, right? So it's best practice to place the most effective visual on the top left corner of your report, as your users are most likely to read from what? From the left to the right. We read from the left to the right. So the visual that is communicating your most useful information should be on the top left corner. Because by default, we start there, going maybe this or this. So then the size. Power BI determines the size of that visual by default, but you can resize. We know this, right? Interaction. The visual that you add to your report will interact with each other using the relationships. So if you have filters, the moment you filter one another, it will be filtered to the next. There are also hierarchies. I understand, especially for the date functions, there are those hierarchies. So will affect how your data displays in the visual and the navigation experience to your report users. For example, a visual may not work maybe at day level, but if you go at month level, it will be a bit what. So you need to choose the level of hierarchy at which you are what displaying. Choosing effective visuals. We have tables, line charts, area charts, bar graphs, Gantt charts, etc. So you must choose what? An effective visual. For example, time intelligence, we use what? Line graphs, right? Matrix and tables, maybe for logical series, rows and columns, we use matrix and tables. Then bar graphs and column charts, there are a variety of them, and we usually use this when we are reporting maybe categorical what data, right? Then pie charts and donut charts. So show you relationships of parts to the whole by dividing the data into segments, right? And we said on pie charts, when your categories are now many, it may be difficult to represent them on a pie chart. So you need, if you have few, for example, you have 5 locations or maybe 10, or but the rule of thumb I think is around 5 or so. Then tree maps display nested data set of nested rectangles. I think there's someone who clicked a tree map yesterday and said, "What is this?" So a tree map which usually shows you relationships, right? The combo charts. We did a combo chart in Excel, right? Where we said it can be a combination of bar charts and line chart, especially when you are displaying categories. For example, you have sales and cost. Maybe they are in, like what was happening to you yesterday when you had something in billions and the other one in thousands. They are in different scales. You may need to what to display um, using a combo chart where the other one is a secondary value, the other one is primary, something like that. Then cards rule of thumb is they display a single unit. If you want to total sales, you use a card, right? The funnel chart displays a linear process that is sequential connected stages, gauges. They are circular in arc for okay. These ones are show up. Um, okay. Okay, fine. So those are what the visuals that we have. We also said suppose some of the visuals that you want are not part of the generic one that are there. You can import others from app source. So if you go on your Power BI, I think we can do that. And we go to those three dots. And say get more. You will be prompted to see that one. So we have a number of other visuals. Are you there? Yeah. So app source. But you may need to, for example, we have something like, what do you call this?
Which one? So I'm not seeing your cursor.
This one,
Which one?
where we display.
It's a word cloud.
Right. So word cloud, for example, you are analyzing text. This one is a word cloud. This one,
Thematic analysis.
yeah, thematic analysis, where you want to pick themes. I think I wish if you could read there when we'll be doing Power BI.
Yeah.
When you want to analyze text, yeah, and there are many of them, right? So just say get more, and you get what? More of them. There are many. Some of them I don't even know because they are being developed time and again. Companies are busy developing. So when they develop, they deploy them there. But you need approved ones. So formatting and the configure visualizations. I think we were doing this yesterday. For example, the common one. For example, you haven't created your visual. They will say some of, you may need to rename that, right? To maybe say total. You need to rename the titles, the background. I think we changed the background, right? Yesterday. Yeah. To maybe, so the rule of thumb is use colors that are part of your company corporate colors. Usually. That way you won't have problem. And your people will relate more with your visuals. Then borders, for example, if you can see this chart, sales by country, it has what clear borders, and it has labels to say this is sales amount, this is country, and it has also have labels. Of course, people can see it, maybe that one is above 350 but below 400, but what is it? So we can put what labels for them to be a bit exact. And you need to also to format your labels, maybe to a concise what format. Are you using millions? Are you using what numbers? Data labels, two tips. Two tips, they help you when you are hovering over your report. They help you to say what is really is it, especially when you have many records on your data. Right? I think that's it. So when you are configuring your formatting, I think we are now familiar with this one where we have the visual here and the general where we said on the visual mostly you are affecting what the inside, and the general is what mainly outside the that chart, right? uh, right, so designing appealing reports and cross highlight and drill down. So as you can see, I think we did part of this where we said we put our cards mostly for them to for people to see. You need to put them on top. And I think, are we going to cover, what do you call this that thing,
Yeah.
this one,
Okay. And navigation
the
ones.
the navigation controls,
Yeah.
right?
We will.
And here there's also what, your company logo, so that people can relate, even if you don't put a title here, right? And choose colors that are relevant. Here they are mostly using what common colors, they are blue and yellow. Maybe that's their what, that's their corporate colors, right? Choose the correct format, consider audience of your report. Some people are not technical, they shouldn't ask you more questions. Even in your absence, they should be able to what, to relate with your report. and consider different needs of the different users. Consider visual elements. Draw a sketch, even using a paper. How do you want your report to come out? And when your organization has reached maturity, you can come out with a reporting template where everyone should follow, right? Uh, for example, you see this, the colors they should agree. Here the background is transparent, right? And all the visuals are transparent. Can you see that? Yeah, so you need to be a good designer. If you even if you are not a graphics designer, you need to be a good designer with some sense of beauty. And there's a filter there, all right? Cross highlight. Uh, so cross highlight, it helps you to, when you create a visual, due to those relationships, that information is related to another what? To another chart. So by default, Power BI create those cross highlight filters. That's why when you filter using those filters, you automatically you filter more than one visual. I think you saw it yesterday, right? For example, if you highlight a bar, it automatically highlights other related bars there. So for example, you highlight product one there, it highlights maybe sales or made by people, maybe we have a sales by product and sales by salesperson. If you click maybe on a sales by product, automatically it cross filters what other related. Drill down through hierarchy. I think we are now familiar with those two. All right, this is like the arrows and the forks. So those are drill down through a hierarchy. So you are going through at through levels. Whether you are starting at category, you are going at subcategory, or you are going at year, going to quarter, month, and day. Drill down. So this is familiar, right? So are you understanding? I'm happy that you are understanding because we covered them in what? In theory. So there is a lab. The lab, I think we covered it yesterday. But let's go to knowledge checks. So knowledge check is saying, is conditional formatting available for all visuals? What is the default interaction between visuals?
Is what? Is conditional formatting available for all fields?
You remember in Excel when we were doing conditional formatting to say if maybe it's greater than something we highlight. So we can do that. I think I haven't explained it. We can also do that in Power BI, but it's available only in table and matrix. Yeah.
It's just one percent.
Sorry?
It was first time to hear this.
But we did it in Excel.
Table in matrix visuals in the
Table.
in matrix.
So I think we have to show that. But I